invest in people in the long term, there has to be a mutual understanding.
Hustle hard, hustle hard. Closed mouths don't get fed. Thinking strategically, but acting like a gorilla is the kind of marketing that's small. When it innovates very little, it's highly risk averse. It indicates
the point I'm trying to make there is team dynamics. That power that you have within that team is truly a very special, unique thing. When you create that identity, when you have that, even that team name, it's like we're the 404 name not found, or we're the visionaries, or we're the legacy builders. I mean, there's meaning behind that. So you created your team identity. You also had constraints on your time. So you had a little bit of a competition going on there. But in addition, you had limited amount of time to accomplish a certain number of goals. So teams usually do have those constraints. So a person that's kind of like talking about something that doesn't matter or wasting time, and you have a constraint, like how do you govern that? How do you manage that? And how do you appropriately say, hey, thank you for your input, but we have to move on? But the point is not about your team and what happened in your team, Harrison. It's about the general idea that happens all of the time on teams everywhere. And we have to understand how to approach that. We also have to be sympathetic to the person that's coming onto the team, because you already know each other. You already have names. You already have ideas. And then, oh, here comes someone new. Like, how do you integrate them into the norms and the cultures of the team? Obviously, it's difficult to. Thinking about how teams work and participating on a team, having a common mission, a compelling mission of sorts, adding in that competitive flavor and seeing how you would act, how you would respond, and how you would think about it. Now that we're speaking tonight about teams and groups, and as leaders, this is what we're going to do. Not only are we likely going to participate on a team, we likely already are, but we're also going to have to manage teams and understand that these teams are going to have their own dynamics, whether you like it or not. And as a leader, how do we deal with these things? Is that if you join a team and it's you and your bestie, and you now join a team, like that could actually not be a good thing for the team, because you two are now kind of yoked up and know each other, and you have your inside jokes, and the other people on the team are sort of looking around like, well, how come we're not in on this? And how come every time you guys talk, you talk amongst one another, and now there's a little coalition forming within the team, and that could add some animosity. So how do we work through that? How do we acknowledge these things? How do we truly function in a healthy way on a team of people with diverse opinions, diverse experiences, diverse backgrounds, and be able to achieve this goal together in somewhat of a harmony? There is literature about when people get onto a team as an individual, they might be a kind person, a humble person, whatever it is. But when they get onto the team, they start acting in a different kind of way. They start demeaning people. Maybe they're a bit more disagreeable. Maybe they're a bit more contentious, because now they're sort of investing in something greater than themselves. And they may not know how to integrate their individual thoughts, feelings, and personalities into the culture of the team. And I'll be honest with you, sometimes I struggle with that too, because I have a disagreeable nature, and I also am extroverted. I'm assertive and enthusiastic. And sometimes that actually makes me an outlier for certain teams, because I tend to get frustrated in a sense. And it's funny, just before this conversation today, I was in a board meeting and we're making big decisions, and I got frustrated and I had to go. And anyways, it was an interesting dynamic. One of the things that is good to do is to go through those personality assessments and to do a strengths finder, or something that we can share a little bit about ourselves and some things we enjoy, some things we don't enjoy. Not only is that good for us to kind of put that out there so we attract the right kinds of things to us, but it's also good for a leader to understand, like, okay, these are the things that these people enjoy, it gives them energy, and these are the things that kind of robs them of energy. So if we have tasks to delegate, and we know this particular task might be good for this person, and this particular task might be good for this other person. So feeling that psychological safety, it's a really good point. It's one of the things I think we talked about before in this class. It's so important that if you're on a new team, or if you have someone new come onto your team, that you sort of have that standard, let's call it normative process, to get people oriented into the nature of the team and the nature of the different personalities. And in movies, you see this happen all the time. It's kind of funny, like in superhero movies that are sort of comical. I don't know the name of this one, but it's kind of grotesque. It's really gory, but it's some crazy superheroes, and they go to an island and they fight people. They all have their unique quirks and their unique superpowers. And it'll pan to them for a second. It'll be like the Terminator. He can shoot from a mile away, and he's cold-hearted, and this is his skill. And then it's like the fun-loving person that has bubbles shoot out of their finger, but watch out for this particular thing. And it kind of profiles them in a sense. And the story writers, I know it's kind of interesting using the comic books, but the story writers do that for a reason, because they're actually operating as a team, and they actually have their strengths and weaknesses. And the story writers, okay, let's skip through that in the next 5 minutes. Let me just give you their profile, kind of tell you what they're all about. And even in video games, they have this. You get to choose a person, and they have their strengths and weaknesses. So in life, what do you think that is, that people have that? Because they understand in life this is also a thing, and everybody sort of gets that. So let's differentiate between what a group is and a team is. And I think we can use the dynamics that we just did. As a class, before I gave you those instructions, we were a group. We were just a group of people hanging out in class together, about to do something. We didn't really have much clear instruction, and we were a group of students in class. And so that, if you can think about a group, like we're a group of people gathered, flocked together for whatever particular reason, whatever, it's a group. And there seems to be a person that's leading the group, whatever. Once you were fragmented into teams, now we're talking about a compelling mission. Now we want to win. Now we have team names and a team identity. Now we're sort of selecting a spokesperson, which is going to be a leader. Now we're cheering for our leader. It was a democratic process. So you see the dynamic. It's easy to be in a group. It says all teams are groups, but not all groups are teams. So once you break into that team, you know, okay, we're on a team now. And the team needs that compelling mission. So it says a key difference: teams are united by strong commitment. Groups may lack that same level of connection. Here's a great picture. Think about a sports team. Let's think about what's something called the interconnectedness of different teams. And so it basically means is how important is it for me on this team that the other person contributes, that the other person, the work that they do, this is the interconnectedness component, will immediately affect me. So when you think about a softball team consists of players with fixed roles and positions. So I can't, as an outfielder playing softball, I can't control the way the pitcher pitches. So I'm not interconnected with her at all. If she does her job, pitching the ball, then that's good for me, but I can't control that. I'm not interconnected to that. But the sum total of all of us doing our individual roles well will lead to us winning the game. So there's some interconnectedness, but it's not on a every minute, every second basis. And we'll talk about comparing it to someone else. But a softball team consists of players with fixed roles and positions. Each player's performance is largely independent of others. So you can think about some teams that are like this. Yet by optimizing their own play, like I'm going to do really good with what I can control, they can help the team excel without needing to constantly adjust to other players' behaviors. So another one would be like even faculty in my department. We don't have a strong interconnectedness, but when we all deliver our classes well, the department benefits. But I don't need to get my classes approved or to get, I'm not inviting people to class and I'm saying a phrase and then they're saying a phrase. And, my ability to deliver a good class is contingent on how well they work with me to make that happen. So maybe you can see that example. So let's look at a different example. This would be much more interdependent. So in a large way, an orchestra is very different than a softball team. While each musician still has a fixed role and instrument, true success depends on how well each part blends with the other. So the person listening does not hear the violin. It hears the blending of the music. It's the symphony of an orchestra. And just real quick, while I have this example in my mind, when you're in customer service, a lot of times your ability to service the customers will be contingent on the operations person getting the job done. So the person that has an issue with your company, you call in a customer service and they say, "Hey, I got an issue." You can't solve the issue for them most of the time. You're going to have to delegate that to somebody else. And your ability to satisfy that customer will be contingent on the person in the field delivering. And then it's going to be also contingent on the person sending the bill to send the bill. So customer service has to work with operations. Operations has to work with finance. And it's the harmony of those three things working together that's going to satisfy the customer. So you can see there's more interdependence there versus, let's say that you hire somebody to come to your house to remove a snake. Like there's a big snake in the bushes. And one person comes, removes the snake, and they leave. Like job done, right? Like there's not a lot of interdependency you need on that. So it's much more independent versus a team of people who has to serve a customer with departments and facilities and things happening. So anyways, every performance is deeply interdependent. Each player must listen, adjust, and coordinate so the entire group produces harmony together. All right, last example. And this is one of my favorites because I think it's more relevant, I think, in the dynamic that we work in. And so this one is now consider something like a doubles tennis team or a jazz ensemble. Here, roles are no longer fixed. Players or musicians move fluidly, constantly interacting, adjusting, and responding to one another in real time. Success depends on continuous awareness and coordination. We have individual contributors. I do the job well. If we all do our jobs well, we win as a team. Now it's our ability. We still have our own roles. I'm not playing every instrument, but I'm going to play my role really well, and the collective of us is going to produce a product. And now we're working together all the time. Like we're literally like twins here, and we're jiving off of one another. We're co-delivering the content. We are co-creating the experience. It's me and Johnny. Like we're always on the team. We're always together. And our ability to succeed is our ability to work with one another to produce a product. So I find this dynamic of these interdependencies to be very fascinating. So my question to you is, what are you? You know what I mean? What team do you work on? And wouldn't it be different to manage a team that is a bunch of people working together independently versus a bunch of people collectively working together to produce a single product, or people that are just literally working together all the time and trying to produce a product consistently? I can't play doubles by myself. I need the other person in order to effectively even compete here in this game. And same thing with the jazz ensemble. If you're missing the piano player, you're missing the drummer, you're just incomplete. You just are not able to deliver the product or service that team is required. So what do you think about that interdependency? So that's interesting. You're basically saying in the group, like as you're coming up with what to say, you're sort of operating like a doubles tennis team. But when it's time to perform, you're operating more like a softball team because you now have this individual person, call him or her the pitcher, that has to deliver strikes. If the pitcher can't deliver strikes and can't pitch, nobody can play. So if the spokesperson didn't speak well, then everybody loses. I hope you see these dynamics. And the reason why I lay out these dynamics, because teams are fundamentally different depending on the task that they're trying to achieve. And we have to understand the mission and how people work together to accomplish the mission. What is the best way to get our team to operate, and how interdependent are they? If you don't know those questions as a leader of a team, you're going to struggle right from the bat. You're going to struggle because it's not going to feel natural to try to do certain things on that team. So you got to get in front of people, and you have to use political skills so you can get into that in group, so you can have influence with the manager leader, so you can get the resources you need for your initiative. So this is how I believe political skill can be useful when it comes to the dynamics of leader member exchange. Trying to get into the in group is essentially what you're trying to do. And as a leader, you have to know that there's going to be people that perceive themselves to be on the out group. So being more inclusive, getting around more, asking people how they're doing, inviting more people to the meeting, presenting yourself as a with a democratic, not a democratic leader, but just as a person that's willing to listen to all opinions, as opposed to forming in little cliques. So this is fascinating. Hackman's 4 myths of teamwork. Myth number 1, group harmony improves effectiveness. This is a myth. Reality, constructive disagreement and debate lead to innovation and better decisions. Too much harmony can suppress creativity and lead to groupthink. We talked a little bit about that. Myth number 2, the leader's style determines team success. The reality is many leadership styles can work. We all know that by now, if the right structure, goals, and conditions are in place. So it's not about leadership style on a team. It's about the team's goals, the team's ability to achieve its mission. As a leader, you come in there all charismatic and transformative, and that team is looking at you like, how does this help us? Like, what are you doing here? But really, a person that has that tendency of style should possibly understand the team dynamics and instead create the right structure, create the right goal, create the right conditions, and let the team do what they do best and get out of their way. Stop trying to control the conversations. And again, we have to discern, when do we do that? Maybe the team's a mess, unorganized, doesn't have structure, needs a transformative leader. We don't know. Myth number 3, big teams perform better. This is an interesting myth. We think that, and there may be a visual in here, but if you think about these boats, these rowboat boats, you have it's called crew. You go on a lake and you get into this boat. I mean, you probably tip over if you get into it because you don't know. It's the skinny little boat. You get the idea. And so you think that you row by yourself. You think that, okay, I'm going to go fast, but 2 people goes faster than 1 person by about 30% faster. My numbers might be low. So 2 people is about 30% faster than 1 person. 3 people is about 10% faster than 2 people. So you're incrementally improving by 1 entire other person on the boat. You think you would double. And then you have 4 people is the fastest. Once you get to 5, a 4-person boat sometimes could potentially beat a 5-person boat. Once you're adding 6, 7, those boats are too slow. You're being ineffective now with the number of people you add. So think at the nodes. I know this may be complicated. I'm trying to articulate the visual. I don't have a visual for you. But think about 6 people on a team, and you have to get stuff done. You have to know 5 different personalities. You have to listen to 5 different voices, and you got to have maybe 5 different conversations, and then kind of have to understand the dynamics here, here, and here. And so I guess the question I ask, what is the ideal team size? Too many cooks in the kitchen. There's too many voices to hear. We're in a meeting, we're brainstorming, and everybody's got an idea, and we can't even fit it on the board because there's, everybody has 3 ideas, and it's just too much. And so the right number, according to this guy from Harvard, whatever, is like 4.6. So it's a little bit, it's between 4 and 5 is what's considered to be the right number. And again, it depends on the task. Like if you're trying to put together packages for homeless people and you're packing bags, like you're probably going to want 20 people on an assembly line packing bag. That's going to help. And 25 might be even better. So if you can figure that, 80 might be too much. Like, okay, well now we're disorganized all over the place. So if you're doing a repetitive, not so complicated, basic task, a manager or a team leader can manage a team that's pretty big. But the more the task is complicated, it needs different roles. People are working more interdependently. It becomes too much. A team, Jeff Bezos' 2 pizza rule. He says, if you can't feed a team with 2 pizzas, it's too big. So that's kind of how he looks at it. So again, somewhere between 4 and 5 is usually the right team. Special forces used to operate like this. I'm not sure if they still do, but if you have a unit, not a unit, but a team, special forces team, it's about between 4 to 6 people. And so maybe we'll have some more facts about that later for reasons that we need to understand. So reality is smaller, focused teams often outperform large ones. Coordination is easier and accountability is higher. Myth number 4, team performance declines with tenure, meaning the more people work together, the more old and decrepit they get and the more boring they get. And we're just going to have to fire somebody or get someone off the team. It's not necessarily true either. It kind of works in the opposite direction of that independent thinker thing. But the reality is stable teams build trust. This is very important to understand. A team that has some tenure and is capable of staying together has certain norms that usually are effective for a reason. They kind of went through that forming, norming, storming, and performing. They went through the storming phase. And hopefully they're at the performing phase. And it took a while to get there. So stable teams build trust, shared knowledge, and smoother collaboration up to a point before stagnation sets in. So we had this 8-week class, which I think is a perfect time frame for the subject matter. If we had a 16-week class, week 12, you'd be kind of sick of it. Like, oh my God, man, I've been in this class and this professor shared every story that he has, and his jokes aren't funny, and he doesn't have any visuals. So you get the idea. It's like it's too much. And so, but there's a point where we sort of know each other, we feel comfortable with each other, and we haven't had like many conflicts yet, and we're maybe we had some conflicts early on in the class, and we kind of felt each other out, and now we're sort of in a good flow. And being in that good flow, it took us time to get here. Now I feel more confident speaking to you. I kind of know what you guys like now, and we're working well together. So that happens in teams as well. So what does a leader do? The leader's role in the team-based organization. Team-based organizations need leaders skilled in team processes and interpersonal dynamics. I keep explaining to you all that what it means to be an independent contributor versus a leader is a totally different game. It takes different kinds of skills. I'm trying to convey to you some of the knowledge and even some of the stories to make it apparent to you that, wow, I need to think about this whole managing team thing a little bit differently. And I need to start practicing these skills more often, at least being aware of them so that I can become a better leader of teams. Leaders act as facilitators, often guiding multiple teams at once. Without effective leadership, teams may lose direction, over or underperform, or get stuck in conflict. Oh, that's fun. Strong leadership is especially critical in the early stages of teams development to unlock its potential. It's inspirational. So here we go. When you reflect on some of these leaders that one might consider to be heroes and think about their lives,